Hello, welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to introduce a new unit called Survey and Leveling. Let's jump into our specific objectives of today. On this unit called Survey and Leveling, by the end of this lesson, the learner, you as the learner, should be able to define survey and leveling, state the objectives and uses of survey, identify the classifications of survey, and state the general principles of survey. To begin our lesson, let's start by defining the meaning of surveying. What is surveying? Surveying is the art of determining the relative positions of different objects on the surface of the earth and preparing a map to a suitable scale. This simply means we determine the positions of an object on the surface and the relative distances between these objects, and using a suitable scale, we put these objects on a map which a person can easily interpret for easy understanding. Surveying and leveling go side by side, so we must understand too the meaning of leveling. What is leveling? Leveling is the art of determining the relative vertical distance of different points on the surface of the earth. This simply means, as we can see on the practical image shown below, we measure the heights of different points on the earth's surface so that we can easily know their inclination to other points. In order to do any type of surveying, we must have the objectives to our surveying. In general, survey has the main objective of preparing a map. As you can see, the aim of surveying is to prepare a map to show the relative positions of the objects on the surface of the earth. These maps can show details of all the images and stuff that you have put on the map, which can include towns, roads, rivers, mountains, all the things you can think about that are on the surface of the earth. What are the uses of surveying? Surveying is used to prepare topographical maps which can indicate hills, rivers, all the physical features. To prepare cadastral maps which show boundary of properties. These can be buildings, plots. To prepare engineering maps which detail engineering works like roads, reservoirs, also buildings. To prepare military maps showing the road and railway communications and different strategic points. To prepare contour maps which help determining the capacity of reservoirs and the best possible routes for roads and railways. Also, surveying helps in preparation of geological maps which show areas with natural resources. They are also used to prepare archaeological maps showing places where ancient relics exist. So, as a student, you should be able to look for more uses of surveying to gain a better understanding of how survey is used in real life. What are the classifications of surveying? Surveying is basically classified into two: the primary classification and the secondary classification. Under primary classification, we have 1. Plane surveying. This is surveying where the curvature of the earth is not taken into consideration. This is where the surface of the earth is considered plane. Plane simply means that the surface is flat, with no high points or very low points. Everything is on the same level. It is carried over a small area of less than 250 kilometers squared, and it is conducted by state agencies. An example in Kenya, it can be the Department of Irrigation under the Ministry of Agriculture, or the Department of Public Works under the Ministry of Infrastructure, and all those departments that you can think about. Still under the primary classification, number 2, we have the geodetic surveying. This is a surveying where the curvature of the earth is taken into consideration. This means that all surfaces of the earth are considered curved. It is conducted by the Survey Department of India, and it is carried out over a large area that exceeds 250 kilometers squared. The diagrams below simply try to explain the geodetic and the plane surveying, whereby this diagram here we can presume this to be the position of a person viewing this direction. If the earth was flat, the eyesight will be able to see along this eye level, this line, and this simply means you will be able to see everything on the surface of the earth, be it big, be it small, whatever shape. But if the earth is curved, you will not be able to see everything, since the eyesight will be viewing from this line, the dark line, and this simply means you will not be able to see everything. Whatever is here you will be able to see, here you will see, but here you will not be able, simply because the eyesight cannot reach, cannot see the visibility, since this is the maximum level you will be able to see. Geodetic survey reveals that the angles of the measured triangle exceeds 180, as this tries to show. Simply means that the surface is curved. If the earth was flat, the angle would add up to 180 degrees, which is a representation of this triangle. The second classification of surveying is the secondary classification. Under the secondary classification, surveying can be based on instrument used. Under the instrument used, we have chain surveying. Chain surveying is surveying that is done using a chain. As the images show, this is a chain, and this is a representation of a chain when it is elongated. Another surveying is the theodolite surveying. Theodolite surveying is survey that is done using a machine called a theodolite. As the images show, this is a theodolite machine, and this one is an image of a theodolite being used on site to take levels of points and the distances between those points. Still, based on the instrument used, we have compass surveying. Compass surveying is surveying done using a surveyor's compass. As you can see, as indicated by the images shown. Another type of surveying is tachyometric surveying. This one will deal with it in details later, and it cannot be simply expressed in form of diagrams. We also have plane table surveying. This is surveying that is done with the aid of a plane table. We have photographic surveying, which is done with the aid of a plane hovering around the area in which the details are to be captured and a map is to be prepared. Still under secondary classification, surveying can be based on the method used. Under method used, we have the triangulation surveying. This is surveying where the area to be surveyed is partitioned into triangular shapes in which these triangles, all the angles are 60, and this method is good simply because the area to be surveyed can easily be determined through the calculation of the area of the triangle. We also have traverse surveying. This is surveying where a surveyor takes levels along can be a line, a curve, any shape, and it can be closed or open. We'll deal with the details as we move on. Also under secondary classification, surveying can be based on object of surveying. These include geological surveying, mine surveying, archaeological surveying, and military surveying. And finally, under secondary classification, surveying can be based on the nature of the field. This includes land surveying, marine surveying, in where surveyors take the features, the shape, and the graduation of this underwater surfaces of sea, oceans, or rivers. And also we have astronomical surveying, whereby survey is done on space to determine the positions of planets, maybe meteors, galaxies, stars, and all the things you can think about that are on space. Let's move on into the general principles of surveying. Surveying generally has two principles. One is to work from whole to a part. This simply means we work from a whole area that is to be surveyed to a specific, which can be a point of that area, a short distance, an object, or anything that we can simply specify. Then the second one is to locate a new station by at least two measurements. These measurements are linear and angular. And these measurements, we take them from a fixed reference point. To understand the meaning of these linear and angular measurements, we need to define them. What are linear measurements? Linear measurements are horizontal distance measured by a chain or a tape. This point A can be an object, point B can be another object. So the distance in between can be measured using a chain, and that distance, which can be in meters, centimeters, feet, thus that distance is the linear measurement. On the other hand, angular measurement is the magnetic bearing or horizontal angle taken by a prismatic compass or a theodolite. The image below tries to show the magnetic bearing of line A to B. This bearing can be taken from the magnetic north towards line AB, this angle. That is the magnetic bearing of line AB. Finally, we have reached the conclusion of our lesson today. And to summarize, we have been able to learn that surveying is a practical application of the knowledge acquired in the class setting on the field to develop maps for different purposes. We have also understood that the survey concept requires a learner to experiment all the learned activities so as to gain a better understanding. Surveying is a broad field, and in order to gain the concepts and a better understanding, one needs to learn more, do more practice, and carry more experiments on site so as to develop the skills that will help you when you do your work now as a profession or somebody out there in a company or something else or a private company. So students, let's learn more about this introduction so that come next lesson we'll not have difficulties in understanding other concepts of surveying. Thank you and have a nice time.